Thursday training. Today what we're going to focus on, it was from our last week's training, and I'm going to show you how to key in a 203K program. With that, I'm also going to show you on our second product how to key in a silent second for those bond type products. And then I'll go ahead and show you an 80-10-10 as well. The way we're going to use our GoToMeeting is open up your question area, and if you have any questions, go ahead and place them in the question area. Dennis already put in quite a few questions, which is great. Dennis, we will be covering that MI balance checkbox as well as the mobile app toward the end of the call on the mobile piece. We'll also talk about the analysis way to change the long term as well as working with video. So we will be able to cover all those items. Anyone else, if you have any kind of questions, go ahead and place them in that question area and we'll address them during our call. So the one thing I wanted to point out, I started with our knowledge base here. And the items we're going to talk about are a 203K product. So if you're can't type today. In the knowledge base, which you can access with our help button. If you want, we do have a search engine here. So I'm just typing in the 203K, and then it'll be able to provide us the different video tutorials that surround that particular topic. So we have the 203K, as well as if I put in down payment assistance. Whoops. You'll be able to see all the different videos on that. So I wanted to point out this call will be recorded, so you'll be able to go back through it, but we also have a lot of short video clips to be able to show you items that we're going to discuss here. So let's go into Edge, and I've already logged into my account. So with people on the call here today, if you could raise your hand if this is the first time you've been on a Thursday call. You could go ahead and do that for me. Okay, great. It looks like we have Rita. Oh, we got one person who's new on the call. Great, welcome. With this call, we're going to be going and really try to focus on entering different types of products. I do want to mention that on Fridays, we do have an introduction to Edge class that we have that really goes slowly into understanding the first part of input of a loan. So if you're interested in that, please contact us at support, and we'll go ahead and address it, or show you how to sign up for that. Okay, Tom had a question on refinances and cash to close, and Tom will go ahead and address that question toward the end of the call, since right now what we're working on is a purchase transaction, but we'll end it with a refi. I have one in the system, and we'll be able to walk through that cash to close aspect. Okay, great. Starting off with great questions here. So, in our home screen, just as a quick review, we have our total cost analysis in the upper area, our client section, and our open house flyers and seller buy downs in the lower area. So I'm going to start a new report. So let's go ahead and start this process off, and I'm going to go ahead and click on new client. If I was doing an open house flyer, I would just go ahead and do new partner. And we did have a release, so I'll show you a couple fields that are going to be different in Edge, and one of them is in the products. We have a new drop down for FHA and VA, so we'll discuss that as we go through. So with this, I'm just going to go ahead and put in the name of my borrower, so something very simple. I do want to point out, I do mention the fact that, you know, like the phone number here, certain fields aren't necessary if you want to speed through the report. But the one thing about the home phone number, if you do have an email alert, the phone number will display on that email alert. So if you want a quick way to be able to call your clients, make sure you have that phone number handy and put it in your Edge account. It will go on the email alert, and what those email alerts are, you receive an email if once the borrower has closed the report. So it'll tell you how long, the name of the borrower, quick way to review the presentation. You'll have your phone number if you list it in that data entry screen, and that's the time to go ahead and reach out to your borrower. So wanted to point that out with that phone number. If you do have it, it will go on your email alerts. Now in our friendly name field, I'm just going to go ahead and place in 203K. I'm going to do a down payment assistance, and then an 80-10-10. So with this, this field is a reference name. So this will allow me to know what I'm working on. Usually you can put in purchase refi, that type of information, and it will just be able to use it there. So if you have we do have an option to copy. So you'll be able to know which file it is that you're working with and be able to identify it rather quickly. So moving on, we are doing a purchase a new home. Always when you're doing a purchase, make sure you mark this item because it removes that current mortgage for a refinance. So always make sure you mark it as a purchase a new home. You could go ahead and place in your purchase price here if you want. I'm also going to place it in my product. So I'm going to leave this empty because I'm working things slightly a little bit different here. So I'll be able to show you, discuss this within our product section. And because I'm going to go ahead and skip through my affordability, again, there's items here you can fill out. We go over this on the intro call a little bit more, but if you have any questions, we could go back and work on those screens. But right now, I just want to start on the product. So you can see how quickly there's only a couple items you really need to key in just to start on your loan product. So getting into Edge, and when you start building your product templates, this is where you'll be able to speed through it. So let's do this as a 203K product. And with this, what I'm going to do is the home price that's for sale is $250,000, and we're going to have rehab costs of $50,000 for a total loan amount of $300,000. So with our 203K program, first field I want to point out. First, let's see if you have a product template. How's that? So if you're on an enterprise account, you most likely have a product template already in there for an FHA. You can see the ones I've done on different trainings. You could go ahead and select your FHA product template down. This particular case, I'm going to go ahead and just leave it empty and work from scratch. So my purchase price on this particular home is $250,000. And right above this field here, you'll notice the upfront premium. This is a new update to our system. It used to be FHA, yes or no. So with that drop down, you could choose if it's an FHA, VA, USDA, or if it's single premium. So just wanted to point out that this does control the upfront MIP field that is in our closing cost screen. So I want to point that out. That is a new field. If you do not see this and you see radio buttons that are saying yes or no, you need to clear the cache in your web browser, close the web browser, then go back into it and you'll see this new field here. If you're not sure how to clear your cache, just contact us at support@Mortgage Coach and we'll be able to help you through this. And yes, Kimberly, this call is being recorded, so we'll be placing it on our knowledge base later today. So now as we move down, we want to go ahead and put in our down payment. And I've already, before we even move on, let's discuss a little bit more about our 203K. So since the purchase price is $250,000 and we want to be able to get $50,000 in the rehab amount, what we need to do is actually just put in a purchase price of $300,000. I know it's quite simple, but that's all we need to do here. So I increased that loan amount from $250,000 to $300,000. Now let's go ahead and do our loan amount or down payment against that amount, key in our interest rate as well as our term. So we have our basic of our information. So this is the $250,000 purchase price plus the $50,000 in rehabilitation costs. So full amount there. As we move on, you'll see that drop down would have provided you that upfront MIP field. So if you do not have that, it is the toggle right here. Just go ahead and select FHA, and it will go ahead and control this field here. So now let's go ahead and key on, put in 1.75, and it'll calculate our upfront MI as well as add it to the loan amount. The other item I want to do is add my 15 days prepaid interest. So these two items, if you haven't created templates, follow along with me because this is the same process. It's an FHA template, and you'll be able to use that and be able to have all these items defaulted for you. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go into our closing cost details. And if you have a fee template, go ahead and select from your fee template. You also might have it sorted by state. If you're on an enterprise account, select your state. Then go ahead and select your fee template. I'm just going to select one that I have in here for FHA fees. And this is one that is just a basic items that I put together. I do have an APR fee, you'll see, a non-APR fee, and then I actually did a custom fee description here. So I want to be able to show those items for you. And then when we get to the down payment assistant, I'm going to show you how to be able to add the bond amount. So we'll talk about that when we get to that product, as well as doing a custom fee description. So if anyone who's on the call, if you do not have fee templates created, raise your hand. Let me know how many are out there so I can see if you do not have any fee templates created. Okay, I got one. Oh, good. Okay, there are a few of you out there that do not have the fee templates, and it's quite simple. So those of you who have fee templates created, okay, great. Okay, I'm getting a few questions here. Okay, we're going to review fee templates. I'm going to start it from scratch. So I'm removing my fees just by that trash can. Diane, the best way to confirm your fees are correct is to get a fee sheet. And really, primarily, once you've done your fee template, it's the APR fees that usually are the ones that people aren't sure on. And that fee sheet would be able to tell you if it's APR or not. So if you do have a fee template, just to let you know, this is most likely corporate has set it up for you. And if the fees are slightly different, instead of changing them every time, you want to create a template. So pull down your fee template. I'm going to start from scratch, but I'll be able to tell you what you need to do. We have two green buttons, and this is what controls the fees. So, okay, usually controls the fees. I'll talk to Yvette just for a moment about APR. So we have add fees and add custom fees. If I click on add fees, you'll see that there's a line item. So you can always click a couple of them if you have a closing cost or a fee sheet from your LOS. So the best way, usually with that fee sheet, they provide fee descriptions, dollar amounts, as well as if the fee is an APR. Usually how I used to define it, and things are changing quite a bit with new regs, but if a fee is a lender-paid fee, something that the lender controls, that's a quick way of knowing if it's an APR item, such as processing, underwriting, things like that. Usually if it's a third-party fee, title, thing of that sort, it is non-APR. But, I've been seeing notary fee as APR lately, and settlement obviously is a third party. That also is APR. So you really need to find out what your company marks as APR or not. And to me, the best way to find out is either an itemization or a fee worksheet from your LOS system. The GFE will have it. Anything in the 800 series most likely is a lender-paid fee, but then you have to look at a couple items. But the best way is that fee cost sheet. So looking at our drop down, so just as I was saying, so a processing fee, if I type the letter P, it'll drop me down to my list of fees. So you can see processing fee is a fee that's in the drop down. So if I select processing fee and then go ahead and place in my dollar amount, and this is how I mark it as APR. So it's quite simple to build these fee templates. It's very intuitive. Just identify what that fee is. So say I did an underwriting fee, and that was $3.95, and then I marked that as APR. So that gives you an idea of APR fees. So the next would be, say, appraisal fee, which is a non-APR. So I type A, select my appraisal fee, and put in that dollar figure. And I'm leaving it not as an APR. When we get to the down payment, the bond product, we'll talk more on that PPE column, so it gives you an idea of it. If you're doing refinances, I got a couple questions through our support box today about adding fees to loan amount. You can see that we do have a box right below this column, and it will check all those fees into loan amount as well as remove them. So that is a quick way of adding all your fees into the loan amount, just a quick way of doing that. So now, you're going through and you're creating, you have your fee worksheet. Go ahead and then, if you have a fee that doesn't have a description, you have add custom fee, And in this area, you could go ahead and put in a label description. I had one company who wanted to put the HUD numbers in front of everything, and that's fine. You could go ahead and list, the fee that way. There's escrow holdbacks, any of those kind of items, any kind of custom fee that you want to go ahead and list. Just go ahead and identify it. So we do have a percentage field. That percentage field can be based on the loan amount and the property value or sales price. So depending if you're working with stamp taxes, if the percentage goes off the loan amount or the sales price, you can control it through a custom label. Also, if the fee is an APR, you can default it in this area. So every time you pull up that field, it will go ahead and mark it as APR. So I'm pressing OK here, and now my custom fee is in my drop-downs now. So you won't have to enter that a second time if you ever use it on other fee templates. So that is listed here. So let's go ahead and place an amount of $500. So now you know how to do an APR, non-APR fee, as well as any kind of custom labels. So now we're going to work with contributions. Okay, Mary Kay, let me go into, she wants to talk about stamp tax. So I'm going to add a fee before I go into my contributions. And with it, I got quite a few here. Thank you, Denise. Let's see. I got a lot of custom fees in here. So let's go ahead. You can see there's a lot of 203K fees. Okay. So what I'm going to do, basically, I'm not, what you would want to do on a fee for stamp taxes is what I've been doing is working with the percentage field here as well as the dollar amount. So in the percentage field, what I've been finding out, if it's 3 per thousand, I back into it, and you'd be able to get a percentage. So you can go ahead and put in a percentage here, and you can carry that percentage out to 5 decimal places if you choose to. And I see other companies that some companies want to have padding, and that's fine. You could go ahead and say put in $50 or $100, and it will go ahead and pad that amount. So you'll have a percentage plus a little padding. So that's how you can combine the two. And the stamp tax, either find the description or you can create a custom description based upon what you're using. And I know it's more East Coast that deals with that as much, but that's how you'll be able to place it in there. Any kind of stamps like that. And that's how you use the percentage field as well. So now let's go ahead and work on contributions. So I add fee, and in my drop down, if I type the letter C, it will go ahead and we have a field fee labeled contribution. That has logic behind it. So if you use this particular fee, you can enter as a positive amount. If you look in the blue bar below, you'll see that the borrower paid amount is $23.34. If I enter $500 here, you'll see that that dollar amount is dropped by $500, and now I'm showing that the lender paid fees are $500. So with the paid by, you can see we have a column now. It automatically triggered to lender, but you can also choose if the seller's paying that fee as well. So that's how the contribution will work by entering a dollar amount as a positive and assigning it to a lender or seller. But if you want to have your own description for contribution, that's fine. Let's go ahead and I'm going to put in lender contribution. But the only difference with using a custom label versus the label contribution is that you're going to have to enter that as a negative because the system, there's no logic behind the label you created. So if I go ahead and enter 500, you'll see it's been reduced again by 500, but you would want to keep it paid by the borrower because this way it will offset the borrower cost. So that's what you want to do if you create a custom label for a contribution. We're going to work a little bit more with this when we come to the bond program because we'll be putting some information about the bond product here. So once you're done with your screen here, then what you want to do is save it as a template. In the lower right-hand corner, you'll see Save as Template, and you can go ahead and save it whichever FHA. We could do that here, FHA, and I'm putting today's date in. There's no need for you to do this. I do it so it'll look in my drop-down. If you have origination fees or you originate multiple states, you can identify the state here. So this way you can have an FHA template for your one state, another FHA template for a different state, because the cost most likely would be different. A lot of times you're seeing different processing or admin fees and things like that. So once you have that, you can press OK, and you'll see that it's now in my drop-down. When we get to the second product, I'll show you how you'll be able to use this real quick and not have to enter every one of these over again, because you want to be able to speed up this process. Also in our settings, we have a fee template tab where you can modify any of these fee templates as well as doing a copy. So if you're creating a bunch of fee templates, you can really go through and do a bunch of copies and make the quick modifications. So if you're doing different state templates, great way, just copy it, make the updates really quickly. So once you're done and created your template, you want to apply to loan. And then you'll see that these fields are now grayed out. And the reason they're grayed out is you need to go into your closing cost detail to make any of these edits. Then it will go ahead, as soon as you apply to loan, we'll total up the APR, non-APR costs. And in prepaid escrow, you'll see that when we go into our monthly cost screen, then this figure will fill out. So let's advance to our monthly cost screen, and this is where we're going to go ahead and put in the MI. So Dennis, this is one of your questions about the Calc MI. So first let's discuss mortgage insurance here. So I'm clicking on the percentage, and I'm putting in 0.85 because that's the MI factor for 3.5% down. I want to mark calculate MI on balance. And you only want to mark this box on FHA or USDA loans only. And the reason for it, it controls the calculation of declining balance for MI. So take a look at the dollar amount for MI. If I uncheck that box, you'll see that the dollar amount changed. This is conventional. It's just a straight calculation of MI. But as soon as you do the declining balance for FHA, it does decrease a slight bit and will decrease every year MI is on the loan. So that's what that Calc MI balance field is. So FHA and USD always have that marked. So on MI cutoff month, what you want to do is put in 360 months. That's going to carry MI for the life of the loan. You do have an MI cutoff percentage. You can remove that if you want, but it really doesn't come into play. And to explain these two fields, MI cutoff month, if I only had 60 months in here, what the system would do is have MI for 60 months. At the end of, on the 61st month, it starts looking at the LTV percentage to drop MI from the loan. So because it goes through 360 months, it's never going to look at that 78%. So wanted to explain those two fields as well. So now let's talk about our reserve. So before you can key in your 2 months reserve here and 4 months of taxes and 12 months premium. But you need to have a percentage in here to get these figures to calculate. So I'm opening up those, and I'm placing in 0.25 and 1.25 as my factors. So with that, you'll see the system can calculate the monthly amount. You can also, if you don't want to use a percentage, you can go ahead and place a dollar amount as your estimate. So let's place that back. So with these dollar amounts, we'll have 2 and 4 months reserved. So just one moment, I want to check my question area. Mary Kay had a question about title company fees when you're doing fee templates. It's really up to you. I've seen it both ways where it has everything, lender and title fees, notary recording. And then I have some companies who are only showing APR fees. So it's really, they usually show APR appraisal credit. So it really depends. You should always at least quote APR fees and the total amount. That has to be in there. But it's always good transparency showing everything. Okay, Jim, for conventional loans, do you enter anything for MI cutoff month? On conventional loans, if you know the policy, all I've seen really, Jim, is possibly there might be a 24-month minimum on conventional loans. So if that's the case, you could go ahead and put in the 24 months. 25th month is when they start looking at that LTV percentage. So that's a good example on how that field works. Okay, let's put in the 360. So now I'm going to spend a little time because I had a couple questions today in the support box on adding reserves to a loan amount as well as where do you make the changes. So we have the monthly amounts above as well as our number of months reserved below. So now let's go back to our fee cost screen, our closing cost details. You'll now see that the prepaid escrow line has a dollar amount listed. And if we go into our closing cost details, you'll now see the reserves here. They're grayed out because you have to make the changes in the monthly cost, either change the factor or the number of months that you want escrowed, and then they'll be placed here. If you're doing an FHA or adding a loan for refinance and want to add those reserves to the loan amount, this is where you would do it. You would just come back to your closing cost details and go ahead and mark those add to loan amount. And then also to show you real quick how these two screens work in conjunction with each other, you see I'm going to go ahead and delete hazard insurance premium from my closing cost list. I'm going to apply it to loan. And now in our monthly costs, you'll see that the X has been removed from the premium. So just want to point that out. If you did a refi and accidentally had a marked premium, you can go ahead and remove it there. So that's how you do a 203K, and we've covered their fees and such. So now let's go ahead and cover a bond program, and then we'll work with the fees a little bit more on those templates as well as being able to show how to do that silent second. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm just listing this as silent second. I know it's not a great name for this, but I want to do this because it's just easy to be able to point out on our comparisons. Silent second, the way I'm discussing this program is there's a lot of bond programs out there, CHAFA, things like that, where the down payment isn't due and payable until they refinance the loan. Some are waived after they've held the loan for 10 years, whatever it may be. But basically, there's no payment on that loan. And so that's what we're going to go ahead and cover here. So with that, I'm going to go ahead to keep in conjunction with that 203K product, even though the house was $250,000 and the $50,000 in renovation. I'm going to go ahead and list this as $300,000 as well because I can go ahead, whoops, not $30,000, $300,000. I could go ahead and, with the same amount, go ahead and buy a home at $300,000 compared to that 203K. So now what I want to do, you could go ahead and let's mark it as FHA because I'm doing an FHA bond program here. And then with that, I want to go ahead and open up that percentage field and do in my 3.5% down. Interest rate 3.875 and my term. Okay, so we have all our information in here. So now let's go ahead and go to our fee screen and then we'll talk about the bond program. So let's go ahead and do in our upfront MI 1.75, put in our prepaid interest. I'm marking it yes for add MIP to loan amount. And the one thing I didn't show is saving a product template. We'll show you that shortly so it saves all these templates here. So now let's go into our closing cost details. And I'm pulling down the fee template that I just created right here. So this is how, if you're on an enterprise account, to be able to customize it or create further fee templates that you need to work with. So you could go ahead and pull down that fee template. It will go ahead and come down. And one of the differences for this, let me just one moment. Just a moment, put you on hold just 1 second. Okay, so with our fee template, the one thing that's going to be different here is we're going to apply the down payment assistance, which in this particular case I'm doing 2 percentage points. And so with that, I want to create a custom fee label, and I'm going to label this as down payment. And you can put whatever title you want to be able to have for that particular amount. I want my percentage field to go off the sales price of the property value. And it is a prepaid escrow. So I'm going to mark it here, and I'll explain this to you shortly. So once you press OK, so now that is in my drop-down for any future down payment assistance program. And in this particular case, I'm doing 2% is being granted. So $6,000 is being granted. Because there's no payments, we're not going to show the second lien because there's no payments due, but yet they're receiving that amount. So with it, and I actually need to put in a -2 points. No one caught that one. And so this will go ahead and offset part of that down payment. So I want to be able to point out you can customize your label, you could put it in as a percentage, or you could put it in as a negative dollar amount. And when you do that, it will offset the fees itself. You'll see that, but it will, on the report, it will offset the down payment. And you'll see the PPE column. So when you want to mark a fee, PPE is when it's not a fee. So this is not a fee, a down payment assistance. That's just being applied toward my down payment. I don't want it being shown on my short-term analysis, so to exclude it, it's not a cost of the loan. I want them to go ahead and mark it as PPE. So any of that type of fees, this is where you want to go ahead and mark them. You'll also notice that any escrows, any monthly costs are also marked as PPEs because they're not a cost to the loan. So I want to be able to point that out. Always, once you're done with the fee template, go ahead and save a new template. So I'm going to go ahead and label this one, down payment assistance, and put in today's date. And press OK. So now I'll be able to have my fee template for my FHA as well as my down payment assistance. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that to the loan. And let's go ahead and key in our monthly cost. 0.25, 1.25, 0.85, 12 months premium, 2 and 4 months reserve. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop here. Let's go ahead and save it as a template. We're going to show the two different products here, a silent second and the 203K. So we're going to show these two products because there's a lot of items that I need to cover with questions coming in. If we have time at the end, we'll come back in, add a second product for the 80-10-10 to be able to show you how you can key that in. So before I move on, I'm going to go ahead and save this. If it's a particular bond program, just place that bond program name right here for your template. And then press OK. So that's a quick way of saving that upfront MI, your prepaid interest, your monthly costs, all are in a product template. So always make sure you save those. And now let's move to our analysis screen. So Dennis, these were a couple areas where you had questions in earlier about making some changes. So with this analysis screen, property appreciation rate, you can always list this at 0 or whatever the value may be in your area. On the report, this reflects in the long-term savings. Short-term and long-term number of months. Short-term is the lower left-hand quadrant of your graph. You can change this number depending on the goals of the client. Maybe they plan on staying in the house for 7 years because that gets their children through high school. That's fine. Then you want to go ahead and place their short-term savings on that time period. They don't plan to move for 7 years. Show them the savings over that 7-year period. Possibly that they're going to be moving within 4. Same idea. You know, give them the savings in that 4-month period. And working the short-term savings, because a lot of times you might not have this information when you're creating the report. It comes when you have that conversation. And when you have that conversation, you can use Edge Live, and when it comes up how long they plan to be in the house, you can go ahead and make that update at that time, and they'll see it on the report. So we're going to work with Edge Live as well toward the end of the report. Short term, long term, you can also go ahead and show the full term of the loan, and the long term is over on the lower right-hand side. But this is where you could show total interest in MI, so this is what I'm going to show on this report, total net worth, or total principal paid. So you have different options to show. Net worth is always good when you use the reinvestment strategy screen. When you go in here and apply additional amount of money toward principal, just want to be able to show you real quick. If you do apply toward principal, it will show a new freedom point here. And just to give you a heads up, if you double click, you could reinvest mortgage insurance once it's dropped from the loan, as well as lump sum payments. items like that. So want to point that out. We have a great video tutorial. If you want to know more about this screen, if we have time at the end, I could go ahead and dive into this a lot more deeper. So now with the rest of the data input, I'm just going to go ahead and go through contact information. You would just key it in. Payment notes, you want to go ahead and put in your payment notes here. You can also put in some kind of comment about your down payment assistance product. You know, something like that. If you wanted to put some kind of text where down payment assistance program is due and payable, you know, when they pay off the loan or when it's refinanced, you could put something in here. I want to point out a lot of times people that you need a compliance piece here. Estimated taxes, insurance are included in your payment. But a lot of times people don't realize you can add a little additional information. So I want to be able to put that in there, show you where that is on the report. And then I'm just going to take my mouse over presentation. I'm hovering it over here. And then you'll see the jump outs. I'm going to go to preview. A lot of times if you email support, we'll ask you to hover your mouse over presentation and either select report, which talks about how to uncheck products, or go directly up to preview, which takes you to the end of the report. So let's go ahead and put on that date, and let's do a preview. Okay, so with that, we have our report up. So you can see how the loan amount, you have the difference in the loan amounts here. And I kept the rates the same just to be able to show the difference. But if you go into the more info button in the closing cost area, this is where, if you go into your fee details, this is where you see that down payment assistance. You can see how it's crediting that $60,000 back to the cash to close. And then if we go up here, you can see how their cash to close looks. So this is the two in the connection between the two. What I also want to do is be able to bring up the mobile device, a couple different things. So what we're going to do is finish off this one, and then I'm going to take the report, and we're going to go ahead and bring it up on the mobile device. So with Edge, let's go back into Edge, and you see the Generate Link button. Just I'm going to show you how to be able to use the Generate Link, be able to place on the video. So this is how you get a link. So if I copy that, this is what I would paste in my email and send it to the client. I'll show you just a moment when we work Edge Live how that process works. But before that, let's go ahead and add a video. So click on Add Audio Video button. In the lower right hand or left hand corner, you'll see Record Message button. Go ahead and click on that. And I'm going to go ahead and select Allow, and that's going to go ahead and allow me to use my camera. Hi everyone, I'm Lori. So with that, when you're working with the camera, there's a couple items with that. If you're not seeing the camera, go ahead and right click on anywhere on your report and choose Settings. And then with Settings, you'll see down here you'll be able to choose the camera. So with that, you can look in the drop down, select the camera that you have, as well as the microphone. The first tab here, if you don't want to see that yes or no, if you mark here, remember, then you won't be able to get that allow each time. So I want to point those out. But with the message, you just want to go ahead and just be able to talk to your client, get some great eye contact, discuss a little bit on the report. And Dennis, one of the questions you asked was, would you be able to work behind the reports, highlighting things like that? This is a stagnant message, so it's just a message to be able to be delivered to your borrower. And with that, you'll be able to go ahead and discuss with it. Some people do use Camtasia, and then they'll be able to do a recording as well as move. I mean, that's fine, but when you see Edge Live, that takes place with Camtasia. So you'd be able to actually move the data, show them different things with Edge Live. So with a video recorded message, it's best just to go ahead and keep it short and sweet. Introduce yourself. A lot of times this is the first time a client has seen you. So go ahead and introduce yourself, describe the different loan options, and then do a call to action. So when I show you Edge Live, you'll be able to see how that will take part of that, the camera aspect of moving it around with Camtasia. So I'm going to go ahead to point out on the recording, you have your record button, your play button. If you're in the middle, you can go ahead and pause it as well. Stopping. If you want to remove the recording, just press that trash can button here. And if you don't have a video, that's fine. Place audio. Always put a message on your report. And to do an audio, go ahead and click on Record Audio button. And this will go ahead and allow you to record an audio message. So you have that. Every report has, I would say has to, but definitely put a recorded message on it, because this is your way for you to reach out to your client. So with that, so we got our message. What I want to do is open up my reflector. Just one moment. Okay, great. So what I have here is a program reflector, and it will go ahead and provide my iPad, so the mobile device up on the screen. So the first thing to do on any of your mobile devices is you want to go to your settings account or to your app store. So once you go to your app store, you'll see for me in the upper right hand corner, I went ahead and put in Mortgage Coach. So go ahead and type in Mortgage Coach in your search engine for your app, and you'll see two apps. You'll have your Rate Watch download, so you have that on your mobile device. You also have that option as desktop. And then you have the Mortgage Coach Viewer. So this will allow you to view the report. So both of these options you want to download, but for now what we're going to do is look at the viewer and take a look at our report. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel, bring that down. So this is what the icon looks like for Mortgage Coach, and here's the one for Rate Watch. So I'm going to go ahead and select Mortgage Coach. I want to point out something to you. In this lower corner here, this is a share button, and this provides you the link to the report. Let's go ahead and do that one more time. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, this is just, oh, my battery's low. To put a link in here, once you download the Mortgage Coach app, it's automatic. When you click on the link, it will take you and open up the report. But in my case, what I'm going to do is just type in my ID here, which is 16Q6MT. So once I've typed in my link, I'm going to go ahead and I press the caret here, and it's going to go ahead and bring up my report. So you can see with the borrower here that they have to click I understand to go into the report to review it. So let's go ahead and bring this down a little bit. So with the Mortgage Coach app, the borrower will be able to review the report. But with it, they'd be able to go into the summary section. You can see how it's highlighted on my desktop version as well as the mobile app. The desktop version, you'll be able to go ahead and do a couple items. What I want to do is now show you Edge Live. So this is the mobile app, and what I was getting to, anything you touch on the mobile app. So if I click on the more info, want to dive into the closing costs, you see how it guides you. It will, you're going to go ahead and drive the borrower. So say if you want to talk about down payment, you could go ahead and highlight those fields, and it will go ahead and highlight as well on the report. So you can see how it's going to go ahead and highlight. Actually, it needs to highlight the data. So you can see that on the report, so it could drive it. So now to be able to really experience Edge Live, I'll show you with the mobile device as well as the report. So with that, what I'm going to do is open up a new tab. I'm pasting in that link that I did a copy. I'm going to go ahead and pull this off the report so you can see how I have that disclaimer text just like I did with the mobile app. You have it on the desktop version as well. Just one moment. And then we'll go ahead and get this one over, and then we'll be set, and I'll show you Edge Live with everything. So this is how, a lot of people want to be able to do Camtasia. They want to show everything to the borrower, and which is fine, but the best thing is to be able to do it through Edge Live. So what I have here is I have the two reports open. I'm also in the chat area. I'm dropping the link to the report in the chat area as well. So you could go ahead and click on that link and view this from your desktop, or you could go ahead and type in that number and look at it on the mobile. So now let's go ahead, and you'll see on the left-hand side, this is my copy. It says Clear All. I have a button in the middle, where on the right-hand side, there's no Clear All button. And that Clear All button is allowing me to clear my highlights. So you can see how it just cleared out the highlights on my copy on the left, and it went ahead and drove it to the right as well and cleared those highlights. The mobile app has it also cleared out all the highlights as well. So what I'm going to do is bring over the mobile app to the right-hand side. Now you'll notice next to the Clear All button, I have 4 viewers. We started out with 2. What this is telling me is 4 people on the call are looking at my report. Actually, only 2. Here's one count, is the report on the right-hand side plus the mobile app. So 2 other people are viewing this as well. But this is how you'll be able to talk to your borrowers. I just highlighted my product for the 203K. You'll see that it went ahead and it highlighted as well on the report, on the borrower's copy. If I single item and highlight the loan amount, you can see that it drove the mobile app open, and it went ahead and also on the desktop put those highlights. So go ahead. You could talk about anything to the borrower regarding the interest rate, their cash to close amount. It will go ahead and you can see how it's driving the reports and also on the mobile app. So if you go into that more info button, you could go ahead and discuss the payment breakdown. What is the MI between the different loans, their hazards, their taxes, things like that, or going to discuss the closing cost details and show them in the fee details where that down payment, that closed off. What I'm going to do is turn off my reflector right now and just focus on Edge Live. So with that, with Edge Live, you could see how you could drive the report for the borrower. So you could discuss that down payment assistance program. You could discuss the different fees between the different products. You can also, how we were talking about that conversation where, highlighting too. The chat area is on GoToMeeting if you want to click on that link. It's somewhere in your list. You just need to open it up. It's the same area where the questions were. So what I'm doing with the highlighting, let me go ahead and clear out all my highlights. All I'm doing is hovering my mouse over the field and left clicking. That's all I need to do. The product, if I put it on the title, it will go ahead and highlight the whole column. And you can also highlight the graphs as well. So you have that. But it's great with Edge Live to be able to drive this information. And earlier I talked about that short-term savings. So right now you're on the form. I'm sorry, Scott. For Edge Live, basically what it is you want to drive the presentation for the borrower. So you want to hold the discussion on the phone. You'll be able to hold the discussion on the phone, but while you're holding the discussion on the phone, you would be able to discuss the product with the borrower by highlighting. So when you discuss the loan amount, you can see on the right-hand side, it automatically highlights. So say if I click on the payment, it's highlighting on the client's report. So this way, when you're talking and discussing all this information with the borrower, they'd be able to see it right then and there. So what if the short-term savings, that was one of the things we were mentioning. You're talking to them, that 60-month period, they're going to stay in the house for 7 years. So let's go into Edge. I'm going into my analysis screen. I'm changing that 60 months to 84. And anytime I make a change in Edge, as soon as I advance my screen, that change is going to be made. So let's go ahead and go back to the report. You can see how it went ahead and updated that information for the borrower, and it's also updated on my report. So this is the best way of working with Edge Live. The other item is, say they wanted a higher down payment. You just showed 3.5%. Go ahead and put in 10% down, and obviously you would want to make changes to your MI factors and things like that. But to point it out, I just want to be able to point out the loan amount is going to change. So you can see how you can really drive the report when you're talking with the client. You can drive the report, show them different loan amount features, add different products, remove different products, and all do it while you're on the phone with the client. So that's what Edge Live does. And Jerry, you had a question on an Android tablet. I don't have an Android tablet, but it works the same flow because my phone is an Android, and there's not a software like it is with the mobile device for an iPad. But it would be the same function that you would do is just go to your search engine, and as soon as you download the app, it will have the same look and feel. You do have a history button right here just to point out. It shows a list of all your reports that you have viewed. The borrower will only have yours, but this gives you an idea if you wanted to see one of your borrower's previous reports. And then always just go ahead and click on the arrow, and that will go ahead and initiate and open up that report. But again, this works, once you have it downloaded, it works the exact same way on an iPad as an Android, and then we're also working into the Kindle Fire. So I want to point that out. Okay. Any other questions on the mobile device? Okay, just one moment. I have a couple questions. You're right, Jerry. The video is slightly different in the flow on the Android. You have to watch it or turn it off, where the Apple device lets you play and continuously while you're looking at the report. It's a function with the Android, and we're working with it. But right now, it's more of an Android issue. Scott, I can. Okay, Scott, I can adjust the TCA to address specifically what the customer was concerned with. Okay, I'll show you now, Scott. So basically, give me a question. If the borrower had a question on mortgage insurance, okay, let's go ahead and discuss your payment options. So if I clicked on that More Info button, I'd be able to show them mortgage insurance directly on the report where I'm talking to it. Okay. So that's great. You now you have your borrower on the phone and you want to make a change. So let's add a product. Let's just do a quick add. So I'm going to open the screen up just a little bit, not so much the report, just so you'll be able to have a bigger screen for me to edit. So say that I go to Edge. Once you're in Edge, you could go ahead and make any kind of changes you want. So I want a more formal title, FHA 203K. As soon as I advance my screen, you'll notice that the title's going to make any updates, or will make an update. If I made any modification to my fees, see the title just updated, it will go ahead and update as well, or the monthly cost. So if I go to the very end and say I want to add a conventional product real quick, I'm going to go add another product, and I'm going to move a little bit quickly through this one because I know it's more toward the end. Conventional 5% down. I'm going to do it rather quickly. I'm using my Copy From button, and I have two products to choose from. I'm going to choose my FHA 203K product. A lot of modifications I'll need to do. I'm going to go ahead and choose None. And then I have my 10% down payment. Maybe my interest rate is a little bit more. And then let me pull this over a little bit because this is the. So now what I want you to do is, we have our third product. We only have two on the report. As soon as I advance my screen, it's saved. It's going to start building out that third product. So if I want to see how we have the third product now listed. So I mark none. My upfront MI has been removed, so I don't have that anymore because I don't have it selected as FHA. And then I want to modify my MI. So my MI factor might be 66. It's not calc MI on balance, and remove that MI cutoff. So now I'm going to advance the screen, and then I'm going to go to the report real quick, and you're going to see changes in that monthly payment. So you'll be able to see because our MI changed. So we have now 153 savings versus 115. So you can see how you'd be able to really use Edge Live while the customer is on the phone with you and add products as well as modify existing products and really discuss any kind of questions that you might have with the borrower. So I hope that answered your question, Scott. And Mary Kay's question, that's a good question. If you change the loan amount, will it calculate a new MI? Yes, it will go ahead and recalculate that monthly MI for you. So you do have that. Any other questions regarding the Edge Live before we move on? Okay. And also on the mobile device, I have a question here, a real close-up of the face. A lot of times, and then if you're using an Android version, the video does come up and display, and so it could be the whole screen. And if you email us support, we'd be able to assist you with that, but it is a version of Android. Okay, so real quick. Okay, so with that, we're actually almost at the end. Dennis, I think I answered all your questions. If not, if you go ahead and place it back in the chat box. And with anyone else, if you have any other questions. So what we're going to do is wrap it up. Let me show you a couple items. I really hope you guys really grasp into Edge Live because that is the gem of Edge. That is where you can really make that connection with the borrower. You can't really do that with an Excel or an email because you can't physically touch it. So let's go ahead, and what I want to do is go into settings real quick. You'll see the tab for your contact. Make sure all your contact information is correct. But the fee and the product templates is what I want to point your direction to. So you have your fee templates, and this is where it's really quick to be able to make a modification. You can add, modify if a fee has changed. You could go ahead and indicate so here. You can remove a fee. You can add additional fees. So this is an edit area. And then on the lower left, you have a Save As button, which allows you to do those quick copies. So if you're doing originating different states and just a slightly different dollar amount, quick way of doing copying your fee template. And any fee description, if you click on that Fees button, you'll be able to modify any of the fee descriptions that you've created. You would just highlight it, make any changes. You could change the percentage value, or if it's an APR. So that's where you can modify those fee descriptions. Yeah, Scott, I believe what your questions, so even the goals I can change and it will reflect on the summary. Anything that is on the report, if you make a change in Edge, it will then make a reflection on the report. Some of the items in the goal screen, some are data collection fields, so it's really depending on the field itself. But yes, as long as, and the one question we get in support is, always when you're in the data entry screen, if you make a change, move left or right, get out of the screen, because as soon as you move, that's what makes the save. That's what triggers the save, and that's what will update your report. So always remember, make the change, move right or left. So, oh yes, it's much better than a recorded video because you can answer the questions right then and there. So what I want to be able to do is now let's go back to our Mortgage Coach knowledge base, and you get that from pressing Help. And when you go to the knowledge base with all our video tutorials, you can see we do have one for Edge, for Live. So if you put in the word Live, you can see Edge Live, and you can see all how to use Edge Live, different items. So you would be able to have that there. We also, the reinvestment, we didn't really touch on it, but if you want to look at that, that's reinvesting MI as well as lump sum payments. How to read the TCA, just get a little bit more familiar with it. And then what I want to do is go to our coaching call archive, which is right at the top left, and show you where this call and all our other calls are recorded and hosted. So you'll see our 2015 archived coaching calls. So we have all our information here, as well as our different Thursday trainings. So today's call will be posted right in this area here, and you'll be able to have access to that. And if there's a particular topic you want to be able to see on our Thursday training, either put it in the question area or email us at support, and we would go ahead and we'll address it. This week, the 203 was a suggestion from last week's call. Oh, okay. That's great. If you want us to review your EDGE report, send it to email us at support@mortgagecoach.com. Quick way, anytime you email us with questions or want to review a report, use that share button in the lower right-hand side. It's the quick way to grab the link, and this is what we call a short link. We do have a lot of people will grab the link in the web browser. That's a long link, that's okay, but this is the short link. Copy it, easy access in that lower right-hand corner. Send that link to us. We could review anything. If you have questions, it's always good to send that link as well, because then we'll be able to review your data. So send it to support@mortgagecoach.com. We'll provide any kind of feedback and send it back to you. So everyone, thank you very much for your questions today, and please let me know if there's any type of scenario you want to see on our Thursday trainings. Let us know, and we'll address that on our next week's call. Thanks so much. Enjoy your day. And I'll be on a couple minutes. If you have any questions, I'll stick around.